Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, starring James Corden, Elizabeth Debicki, Lenny James, Margot Robbie, Amy Horn, Domhnall Gleeson, Rose Byrne, and David Oyelowo, and directed by Will Gluck. Now, I've seen the movie twice, and once for viewing experience and once for taking notes, and let's see how this movie goes. We open with a wedding of Beatrix, returned by Rose Byrne, and Mr. Thomas McGregor, returned by Domhnall Gleeson, as the best man is Peter Rabbit, returning voice of James Corden, and his cousin Benjamin, and the bridesmaids are Mopsy Rabbit, returning voice of Elizabeth Debicki, Flopsy Rabbit, returning voice of Margot Robbie, and Cottontail Rabbit, voiced by Amy Horn, and Peter is led to believe Thomas is going to replace his father as he dreams about beating up on Thomas after agreeing he's perfect for Beatrix. And I knew it was fake, and that's how predictable the movie can get, but at the same time, it's cute at best, as the opening 3 minutes is cute at best, as the wedding scene was sweet to watch. At the store they own, I'll say, Peter picks up the mail as we see Johnny the Mouse from the first film, which was a nice moment as Peter is the face of the book, and he accidentally breaks the window of Beatrix as Beatrix gets a letter from Nigel Basil Jones, played by David Oyelowo, as he wants to publish the Peter Rabbit books. As they get back home, as the rabbits can't get the tomatoes, and but Tommy Brock almost ate one, which whew. But Peter stops him and puts it back together, and Thomas is led to believe he doesn't listen to him, as Nigel calls Beatrix and Thomas got on the train somewhere in England, as Cottontail is introduced to Sugar, as she gets all hyper, which is a silly family film cliche, sure. Looking at Nigel, as soon as I first see him, I immediately knew he was up to something bad. Just looking at the guy, it looks so obvious, and as Flopsy drinks some sparkling water and burps it is rather crude, and Cottontail doesn't trust Nigel, as he picks Peter as the bad seed, and I think it's rather harsh. And again, I know he's up to something bad. They see the rabbits on the billboard, and Peter walks alone as Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day plays, as he's rather upset by the bad seed suggestion Nigel made up. Peter meets Barnabas, voiced by Lenny James, as they try to get a peach as they play whack-a-mole with a couple of humans, which is rather too silly until they get captured by Piperson's pets and get adopted by a couple of kids. And Barnabas is another character who feels like a bad apple from the minute he first showed up on screen. As they get to the kids' house, the mother hates the rabbits as she thinks they're monsters, while the kids give them different names. And That's Not My Name is playing in the background, which was pretty funny, and I was singing along to it, obviously. And they leave to go to Granny's house as they steal some food, and this is how anyone can guess Barnabas is a bad rabbit. They collect the food when Barnabas's pickup crew, Samuel Whiskers, Tom Kitten, and Sister Mittens, come in as a disguise, which fools the mother as Peter messes with the mother with the refrigerator and sprays champagne on her. It makes her crash, and as they escape, the mother can't find them, but Robinson, the pig, comes in and gets tortured as they were fooling Peter, as they say they share with their friends, and Barnabas walks Peter back as he offers Peter a job, and Thomas and Beatrix find Peter and go back on the train, while Thomas does pick up push-ups because he says he boxes, and Beatrix reads Charles Dickens novels, and the conflict is rather interesting, whether Peter should do the job or not, dealing with it, although he does, to be fair. Thomas rolls down a hill with the camera, and the CGI in that scene looks pretty bad. And Peter wants to deal with the job with Barnabas, and the CGI on the rabbits did look a little cartoony at times as they arrive at Barnabas's as they arrive to that place in England. And Barnabas says the job is too dangerous as he's pulling evil off very well. Nigel wants to make more changes on Beatrix's images as he's evil, sure. They discuss the plan on stealing dried fruit. And by they, I'm talking about the rabbits and the cats and the rat, you name it, from the farmer's market, and it distract a farmer, named Sarah by her talking to a William, and the plan sounds complicated as they ask if they have any trustworthy friends, as they bring them all for the job while Beatrix draws some stories for the rabbits and involve their friends, and Peter and the rabbits involve the friends to the job. And the main rooster loses his voice and tries to fly as he can't fly, while Thomas and Nigel try to tell him, Thomas talks to Nigel to tell him he knows what he's up to as they box each other, as eventually Thomas punches Nigel as hard as he can, which was pretty funny, I guess. Beatrix and Thomas have an argument about never talking to Nigel behind her back, as it'll go on for hours, but they stick to a shorter version, which, thank goodness. Which makes sense, as I'm finding this pretty cute so far. Benjamin has a word with Peter before they pull off the job, and they do so in a successful way, while Cottontail eats jelly beans, which has sugar in it, and they knock out some of the farmers and others like Thomas Tomatoes, as he trips on their booties, as they're successful until Barnabas leaves all of Peter's family and friends behind and lets Peter join the gang, and we learn Barnabas never knew Peter's father, as he brought up earlier in the film, as Barnabas recruited Peter instead, as no one wants Barnabas anymore because he's too old, which is maybe relatable. And Peter escapes as his friends are being adopted by people, as Thomas finds the addresses of the people adopting the other farm animals, as Peter can talk, and he talks to Thomas as he didn't know Peter can talk, and confesses to himself to Thomas, and the truck rolls down. And can I just be honest, didn't they learn to talk in the first one and he heard about it? It's like, that doesn't make sense. And that piece of CGI is pretty bad, and the twist did get me despite I knew it was Barnabas planning everything. Beatrix and Nigel and his executives have a meeting about what Nigel wants in Beatrix's books, as she walks out after Thomas tells her all the animals are missing, and she joins them and rescues all the animals and brings them all back home, including Peter's family, with Benjamin, and get the food Barnabas stole and put his crew in the petting truck, and returns what they've stolen to Sarah and William, as Thomas and Beatrix drive back to their home, and Peter apologizes for getting the family in danger as credits begin to roll, during the credits scene, Beatrix and Thomas have a baby, and the rabbits treat the baby like a sister. And the roosters wake the sprinklers up as they still can't fly, and the climax was cute and fun at best. I'll give it that. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 6.9 out of 10. In my opinion, this is better than the first film, as it was fun and cute. I really liked the rabbits, despite the CGI looked cartoony, but as the characters are cute and relatable. There were times when Thomas flipped over did look bad, sure, but I still think this movie is pretty cute, and honestly, parents take the kids, as they're going to have a good time with it. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me for this Peter Rabbit series, and whenever they get to a third one, alright, you pesky wabbit, I've got your nail.